This is Leona Graham, and it's part 2 of my podcast, Rock and Road, all about cars, motorbikes and music. 3 things which I really love and that go together really well. Thank you for your feedback about episode 1. Great to read your comments. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook at Rock and Road Pod. Now, this week I have an actual celebrity on the show, believe it or not.
Thank you for recognising my talents.
No, not you.
What do you mean?
Not you, Harley. You were last week, but you're not a celebrity, so you were like just on the pilot episode. I've got an actual celebrity this week.
Really? Who?
Nasty Nick.
Who's Nasty Nick?
Well, you're not going to know that because you weren't even born.
Yeah, well, you've got a celebrity talking to you right now, so I don't know why you're complaining.
Out. So this week I have an actual celebrity guest. Drum roll. It's Nasty Nick. Yes, from Big Brother 1. We'll also have a review of the Honda DC750X motorbike and my album recommendations. Last week I gave you a brief history of my driving and biking life. And then I went online and said, what would you like me to tell you more about? We had a vote and you wanted to know what happened to my first car, the Ford Escort Mk2, that I saved up for so carefully all my childhood. Well, it wasn't good news, I'm afraid. Now, I was hanging around in my group of mates. We were all about 17 or 18. Most of us had cars because we lived in the countryside. And one of these guys, as I mentioned before, did up Ford Anglias and raced them. And his dad was really into these cars as well. So I learnt a few racing driver tips from him. And my Ford Escort Mk2 had a rear-wheel drive, and what I used to try and do on the corners was flip the back end out just a little bit on the corners. But I did this one time, and let me just say how stupid this was, but it was raining, and it was a really sharp corner, almost a literal right angle. As I came into this corner, I tried to do that little move. However, I aquaplaned and glided across the road, ended up going up a grass verge and hitting face on into a big post. So, of course, the car was totally smashed up at the front. I was actually okay, and there was no one around because it was just a country lane. But there was no mobile phone, so I had to get out and walk down to the nearest town and phone my sister. My parents were actually on holiday at the time, so I phoned my sister, and she's one of those people that just knows what to do in a crisis. And she said, right, don't worry, I'll get it sorted. So she managed to retrieve me and the vehicle and get it back to our house. She even covered the front end of the car, which was totally smashed in, with some tarpaulin, so that when my parents got back from holiday, the first thing they saw was not my smashed up car, and to stop them from absolutely freaking out. So that was the end of that. All my hard work saving up for my first dream car wasted. And I had to give it back to our car mechanic who sold it, I don't know, for parts or something. And I had to downgrade to a much cheaper car. And car number 2 was brown and round, and it did look like a giant poo. It was an Austin Allegro. And I actually gave this car a nickname. And I'm not going to swear on the podcast. I don't even know if I'm allowed to. But I will remove the S from the front letter of this word. I called this car Hitmobile, or Hitmo for short. Now, I did have some fun in that car, let me tell you. But I won't tell you today. Let's get on with the podcast and move on now to my vehicle review. This week I'm reviewing a motorcycle. It's a Honda DC750X DCT. And don't worry if you're not into bikes, I'm not some kind of full-on expert here, but I can tell you a few things that might be of interest. One of which is it's an automatic. Most motorbikes are manual, and I've had a few issues with that. One of them being I can't be bothered changing gear all the time in the city. I've certainly changed since my youth. The correct term is DCT, dual clutch transmission. I'll tell you more on the road. Now let's get this thing started up. Oh, listen to that lovely engine sound. Okay, I'm going to pull off the drive now. Okay, I'm going to talk about the comfort factor. For me, this is one of the most comfortable bikes I've ever ridden. You're in an upright position, so you're not leaning down like I was on the Ninja, and that made my wrist ache. The seat height is about 83 centimetres. Now, I'm 5'8", so if you are perhaps lower than, say, 5'5", this might not be the bike for you. I can't get my feet fully flat on the ground, when I come to a stop, as I'm about to now. I can get my tiptoes on quite comfortably, but not fully flat. It's got a fat cushioned seat, so very comfortable on my bum. Doesn't blow around in the wind because it's quite heavy, 217 kilograms. So as I mentioned, it's a DCT, dual clutch transmission. There are 3 different modes as well. Number 1, fully automatic, twist and go, which is what I'm using now. Number 2, automatic mode with manual override. And number 3, fully manual, so if you want to do the old racing up and down the gears, you can. It's got some trigger style switches on the left-hand handlebar. To put it into car driving terms, the DCT is very similar to the DSG gearbox used by VW and Audi. Right, now let's get past this traffic jam. And so there's no clutch on the left-hand lever, no gears on the left-hand foot to worry about, so you can concentrate more on the ride, the traffic, and all the people on the road who are about to pull out in front of you or step out in front of you. You've got to have your wits about you in London, let me tell you. Other gearboxes with a DCT are the Honda Goldwing and also the Africa Twin. So this one is ideal for commuting. Listen to the growl of that engine. The petrol tank is under the passenger seat. That's usually at the front. So the centre of gravity is in a better position in terms of the petrol tank. But forget about that. The main reason I like it being behind me is because it's freed up the front area for a massive storage section, nicknamed a frunk. So you can fit a helmet in there, or in my case, my bag with my wallet, phone, house keys, mask, hand sanitizer, all of today's essentials. It's even got a parking brake on it, so it's like all the comforts of a car, but it's a bike and it overtakes the traffic. What's not to like? Well, I'm going to turn right now and have an opportunity to open the bike up a little bit and go a little bit faster. Right, up to 62 miles an hour. Just a few seconds there. So without the clutch on my left hand and the gears on my left foot, that frees them up to just relax. I've got a brake on my right foot and a brake on my right hand and the accelerator on my right hand. It doesn't feel heavy when you're out on the road, let me tell you. And even when I've got Harley on the back, I can't even notice he's there. Not just because he's a scrawny 11-year-old. Right, I'm just pulling back onto the drive now. If you wanted to buy one of these, you'd be looking at about £6,800. But for me, this is my favourite bike for living in London, without a doubt. I'm joined on my podcast by Nick, well known in the UK as Nasty Nick. Hi Nick, how are you? And more importantly, where are you?
I'm in Sydney, Australia at the moment. It's just coming into our summer, so we've got blue skies and warmth.
Why did you leave the UK?
I don't know. I just think I was sick of grey nights, warm beer, and just England's chaotic state. So I just wanted to come back to where I was when I was 18 and 19 and very happy. So I've been here 7 years now, so it's a long time.
So you've settled in?
Settled in, yeah. It's. I thought I'd come. Well, I didn't really. I thought I'd come for 3 months, but I was kidding myself. And literally, I will be a citizen hopefully this time next year. So I'm changing my colours from white to yellow.
So nobody knows who you are over there, I presume, or do they?
No, nobody knows. Unfortunately, there are sometimes runs have come dine with me or whatever, and people kind of look at you. But no, I'm like a ghost here, which is great. It means I can do normal things like go to McDonald's and
come dine with me.
Yes, I was I did the celeb version about 6 years ago.
I didn't realise that. Okay, right. So, but you like being anonymous, do you?
Yeah, it's quite nice. It's quite nice that I can just do normal everyday things, and I don't have to, dress up and just look 100% when you're not feeling it. And it's nice. I don't miss it. And although there's lots of reality shows I could do, and if I wanted to do that, I could do it. But it's the past is the past.
Talking of the past, it's been 20 years, so they did rerun some of your episodes as a sort of anniversary. So you were all over the TV again here, and everybody was talking about you again. And That was quite interesting. Even people asking me because they found out that I knew you. Oh, you knew Nick. But I remember when we used to drink in the old days, because I knew you just after you'd come out of the house, didn't I? Because we drank in the same pub. And you told me back then that you'd gone into that show. It was just an unknown game show at the time. It's just a Channel 4 unknown show. And you had no idea that it would be watched by anybody, that the press would be interested. And in fact, that, there was helicopters flying above. You were front page of all the papers. So how did that feel coming out thinking, oh my God, absolutely everybody knows who I am all of a sudden?
I know it's kind of weird. It took a long time to settle in to the fact that we went into a show thinking it's late night Channel 4. Who watches late night Channel 4 apart from people who are not working or students, or you're back from the pub? So we never expected it. We never thought it. We never used it as a vehicle to further careers like people now do on Instagram or reality TV. So for us, we were sort of virgins to it. So of course we were surprised when suddenly you go in a nobody and then you come out and everyone knows who you are. So it is quite strange. It was quite strange.
You were given this nickname, Nasty Nick. I mean, how did that feel?
Oh, do you know what? It's England likes to put tags on people. If I was an EastEnders actor and I'd left EastEnders 20 years ago, I would still be known as ex-EastEnders actor. So, it's just a way that the British like to stick a label or stick a nickname on someone. It's a cultural thing rather than... But did it affect me? No, I think it's better to have a nickname than come out and then people go, what, were you really on Big Brother? So, yeah, no, it's...
Yeah, exactly. So I'm glad you took a positive spin on it. That's brilliant. And of course, we had fun in the old days going around the pubs drinking because you were free and available during the week, and so was I, because I was presented just at the weekends only. So we became drinking buddies.
And the weird thing is, the pub we drank in, the Adelaide, and Adelaide is in Australia. So it's kind of a strange link. But
you've gone full circle.
Full circle.
You know, the whole thing about calling you nasty and cheating and that. I remember you saying to me then as well, it was just a game show. Of course I'm going to cheat. I didn't realise it was such a big deal.
I think now you look at the game shows now, people do far worse things than I did. And I think it's just people outraged that at the time that someone can actually play the game and not sit. It wasn't supposed to be a self-help workshop. It wasn't supposed to be a kumbaya type thing. It was a game show with prize money. And the reality of trying to play the game and winning, or not winning, as it may be.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Well, those were the days, definitely. And now you've moved on, you started a new life. I'm now doing this podcast, and I've got some questions for you on the podcast. So, what vehicle do you drive and why?
Okay, the vehicle at the moment I drive is called a Hyundai Santa Fe Highlander. It's basically it's a four-wheel drive. It's a white car. It's got a very good engine, and because in Australia we tend to go big distances, so you kind of need a car that's got air conditioning that won't break down. And sadly, Korean cars have a very good durability out here in the intense heat, and it's comfortable. It's got leather seats, and yeah, because I've moved into the arena of being middle-aged or getting old, so I have to kind of suit that tier.
Now, Nick, what was your first car?
My first car ever was a red Golf convertible.
Oh, that's good.
I still remember the license plate. And I think what was really good about that is someone actually stole the tape cassette from it. So when I had to replace it, I replaced it with a CD player, which was much better than the old-fashioned tapes that used to get eaten up.
So
everywhere.
What year was that?
Well, that year I got that car was in 1989.
Okay, yes, that's around the time I started driving as well. Because if you didn't take your cassette player with you when you got out the car, they would just nick it, wouldn't they? You had to take the whole thing out.
Yeah, those are the days when people literally broke a window, put a screwdriver in it, and just yanked the whole thing out.
What made you go for a convertible?
I don't know. I saw it, and it was kind of that sort of very I want that, so I must have it. The type of thing that young people have today when they can have everything on tap. I just saw it, and I just started working, and the payments weren't very much, at like £119 a month.
Did you ever actually get the roof down? Was it hot enough?
Yeah, well, I think you took the roof down at any chance, just put the aircon on. But it was a time that you either had a Peugeot convertible GTI or a Golf, along with an Aran jumper as well.
So, what do you like to listen to when you're driving? Well, let's go back to that Golf. What did you listen to in the car
Oh
then?
God, I actually had. I remember this because I was thinking about it. I actually had 5 albums. The first was Foreigner 4, which was a great album.
Yeah, brilliant album.
I had also Meatloaf Ballad of Hell album.
Yep.
This has kind of got a very eclectic taste. I also had Madness is One Step Beyond.
Yes.
Also Billy Joel's An Innocent Man. And also, remember the compilation that first came out, I think, in probably earlier, but now that's what I call Music Volume 1.
Volume 1?
Volume 1, it was great because it had
Oh.
something, I think, with You Can't Hurry Love with Phil Collins on it. And it was just, that was the first time they had this massive compilation. It was just a great CD. And I had Boney M, Night Flight to Venus, moving on very quickly.
Did you just say Boney M?
Yes, that's it. Yeah, Night Flight to Venus, the album.
Okay, let's move on. No, that is brilliant. What a collection. My first Now album was Now 4, so and having Now 1, that's pretty cool. Now, Nick, what is your dream vehicle?
My dream vehicle would be an Aston Martin DB8. I was so tempted actually a couple of years just after we started to go to the pub to get one, but do you know what? I bought a house instead, which I kind of regret because you shouldn't really. Life is too short. But I'm actually doing they have a thing here where you have 2 days. It's like a red letter day, and you drive really nice cars. And I'm doing a McLaren, whatever it is, the McLaren 250 and a Ferrari Spider in a couple of weeks' time. It will be fun.
Talking of driving fast, are there any songs that make you want to drive faster?
I think Ballad of Hell does because
Yes.
there's a band that was quite big out here, still is, and quite big in England, Midnight Oil. Their album Beds of Burning is quite good car music.
And lastly, Nick, what was your favourite of all the vehicles you've had over the years and why?
Ooh, I think my favourite vehicle ever was my Caterham. It's Caterham 7. It was a red little 2-seater sports car. It looked like a chitty bang, but if I drove around London, it made a hell of a racket. It could only fit 2 of you in it. They only built 6 of them. It had a good speaker system in it. You had to have a 4-point harness. And it was just a lot of fun.
Yeah, ridiculous for London.
Go-kart on steroids.
Oh, wow. Well, it's been lovely to chat to you, Nick. Thank you so much for coming on my new podcast.
Excellent, and enjoyed it thoroughly. And it's good. It's good to reminisce about the past and music and cars. What a great combination.
If anybody's got any questions for Nick, feel free to send me them via Instagram, Rock and Road Pod. Now on to my album reviews. I'm going to pick up one that Nick actually mentioned at the beginning, and it's Foreigner 4. This is a great album, especially for the car. Jukebox Hero and Urgent are the standout driving tracks, I think, for that. But if you fancy a really good sing-song where nobody can hear you, and if you feel like you can have a go at reaching those high notes, have a good old belt out to Waiting for a Girl Like You. That's a great song. Meanwhile, if you want something brand new and quite eclectic, to use one of Nick's words, there is an artist out there who is covering several genres of music in one album. And in fact, he's just won the Hyundai Music Prize, which is a yearly music prize awarded to the best album released in the UK by a British act. So this is a big deal. Now, he is called Michael Kiwanuka. His album is called Kiwanuka, and in fact you may have already heard his music if you've ever watched a programme called Big Little Lies, because one of his songs is the theme tune. Yes, Big Little Lies. You've watched it, you've heard it. Now you know it's by Michael Kiwanuka. So this album that won the award combines all types of music: rock, folk, soul, indie. He's acknowledged his influences from musicians such as Jimi Hendrix, Otis Redding, Jack Johnson, The Band, Joni Mitchell, Bob Dylan, Funkadelic and loads more. A great track on the album for me is Heroes. That's definitely got some Jimi Hendrix influences. Also, the opening 2 tracks are quite lively. The rest of the album is quite mellow. So this will be good if you are in the mood for a relaxing drive. So that is almost it from me on this week's podcast. For photographs of today's podcast, see Instagram at Rock and Road Pod. Actually, Dexter's just walked in the studio. Hi, Dexter, you okay?
Yeah.
Now, you're not a celebrity, so you can't come in either.
I am a celebrity.
You can't even say it, so you're definitely not a celebrity.
I can.
Go on then, try again.
Celebrity.
And again.
Celebrity.
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 But you're not one, okay?
Yes, I am.
You're not. I've already had this argument with Harley. You don't even know what the podcast is called.
No.
Well then, out.
No, you out.
You don't even know what it's called.
Yes, I do.
What's it called then?
Podcast.
No, it is not called podcast. It's called Rock and Road Podcast. Do you even know what that means?
Rock and road means it's a rocking road.
Right, you hop it. Off you go. Now, as I was saying, see Instagram at Rock and Road Pod for photographs from today's episode. Also, facebook.com/rockandroadpod. And any questions you can always ask me on Twitter at Rock and Road Pod. Thank you so much for listening. Catch you next time.